For this problem, we're dealing with actually two different rates, and as with many of the problems in this unit, the key is finding the unit rate. So we can treat this really as two separate problems, and we're going to solve each problem individually, and then we'll combine the answers to come up with our final answer. So let's start by reading the question. Miss Hardy and Miss Rothstein both drive to work every morning, but Miss Rothstein lives closer to NBMS than Miss Hardy does. Miss Rothstein drives at a rate of 4 miles in 15 minutes, and Miss Hardy drives at a rate of 10 miles in 30 minutes. What is the combined time in minutes of Miss Rothstein driving for 3 miles and Miss Hardy driving for 4 miles? So let's highlight some important pieces of this. So we have a rate for Miss Rothstein. That's 4 miles in 15 minutes. And we have a rate for Miss Hardy, and that's 10 miles in 30 minutes. So we're going to find the unit rate for each one of those individually and then use that unit rate. So let's set up each problem separately. So starting with Miss Rothstein, she has a rate of 4 miles to 15 minutes. So let's write that down first. And now we want to figure out how long it will take her to drive just 1 mile. So let's set up the unit rate so we can calculate that. And again, we're trying to find the time on the bottom. So I have to figure out what factor can I divide 4 by to get 1. And I'm going to divide the bottom by that same number. So I'm going to divide the top by 4, and that will give me the 1 mile. And then I'm going to divide the bottom by 4. And that I'm going to need a little help with because that's going to be a decimal, and I'm going to use a calculator for that. And my calculator tells me that that is 3.75 minutes. And now that we know that, we're going to do what we've done in class the last week or so. We find the unit rate, then we use the unit rate, because now I want to know what time it took Miss Rothstein to drive for 3 miles. So I'm going to start with the unit rate this time. So let me write that. And then next I'm going to set up the target ratio so that I can figure out what I need to multiply in order to find my new time. So my target ratio will look like this. So now my job is to find the missing minutes, and I need to figure out what to multiply the top and the bottom by. Well, to go from 1 mile to 3 miles, I'm going to multiply by 3. And of course, if I multiply the top by 3, I have to multiply the bottom by 3. And again, I'm going to need a calculator to figure this out. And when I put that in the calculator, I get the answer 11.25 minutes. Alright, that's the first half of the problem. Now I need to do the same thing with Miss Hardy. So let's set up her original ratio, the 10 miles to 30 minutes. Just like with Miss Rothstein, I want to figure out how many minutes it will take Miss Hardy for just 1 mile. So now I need to set up the unit ratio so that I can find the time that it will take Miss Hardy to drive 1 mile. So in order to find the minutes, my job is to figure out what do I have to divide 10 miles to get down to 1 mile. And of course, I'm going to divide by 10. And when I divide the top by 10, I have to divide the bottom by 10. This one I don't need a calculator for, because I know 30 divided by 10 is 3. So for 1 mile, it's going to take Miss Hardy 3 minutes. So now I'm going to use that unit rate in order to find the time for her to drive 4 miles. So let me start the problem setting up the unit rate. And then I'm going to set up my target ratio because I want to find out the time that it'll take for her to drive for 4 miles. And again, your job is to figure out what the scale factor will be. How do I go from 1 mile to 4 miles? So I'm going to have to multiply by 4 to go from 1 mile to 4 miles. What I do on the top, I do on the bottom, and that will give me 3 times 4, which will give me 12 minutes. So I know now that Miss Rothstein will take 11.25 to go 3 miles, and Miss Hardy will take 12 minutes to go 4 miles. And the question asks, what is the combined time in minutes of Miss Rothstein driving for 3 miles and Miss Hardy driving for 4 miles? So to finish up the problem, I just have to add the 2 times. So that's going to look something like this. $11.25 plus 12 is going to equal 23.25 minutes. And that is your final answer. Let me know if you have any questions on this.